Welcome back, folks and friends. Connecting Dots 2. Long time no see. I've got some great news for you here. We are Sunday, August the 6th, 2017, and we may actually have made a little difference here as far as the Fukushima scam. But before we get into that, I want to get into an update on the blob. So this is something I've been speaking about on my YouTube channel. In fact, I guess I'm probably one of the very few ones on YouTube who's been speaking about the connection of the warming of the ocean and how it would affect fish. Of course, anyone who's ever had an aquarium, you know, when you change the water, they tell you try to change it exactly the same temperature and only change, 40% of the water at a time, because you don't want to send your fish into a shock because they'll die. Anyways, we've been here about massive die-offs, and more recently, 2 months ago, I spoke to you how the blob had actually reversed and it was now cool here on the west coast. So this is an update on this information, because now it's the word's getting out there. The blob, more and more people are speaking about it. So if you're not aware of the blob, listen to this. This was back in September of 2016.
Is this ringing a bell? 2013, 2014, kind of related to the drought somehow, but you can't quite remember it. Okay, let me refresh your memory. The blob is basically referring to this area in the North Pacific where the water gets a little bit warmer than usual. That in turn creates a big ridge of high pressure, and that steers things. I'm going to show you in just a second what the effects are. But overall, here's the big story, just kind of the overriding reason we're doing this story, because the blob was a big deal in 13 and 14. The drought was really bad. Then it went away for a while. And now it's just started to come back over the last couple of months. We don't know how long it's going to stick around, okay? So this is not like time to panic, like the drought's going to get way, way worse than it has been. But here's the problem. Like I said, this big ridge of high pressure will end up developing. And what that does is it steers all these storms that are trying to get down into the west during the rainy season out there. It steers them a little bit farther toward the east. So basically, the bottom line is if the blob sticks around, that means less rain during rainy season in the west, which in turn could probably mean more drought problems.
Okay, so here's the update on this entire blob thing. So many of you may recall that it caused the toxic algae bloom. This was another thing I was telling you folks. Don't listen to these people on Fukushima making these videos. Kevin Blanch, for example, and a few others telling you that the seals and sea lions were all twitching and everything because they were hit with radiation. No, it was the toxic algae bloom, and that's what happens. It hits your nervous system, and thereafter you may recall how we had the red crabs here, a whole bunch of them swarming up Southern California beaches, and it was linked to the warm blob. So I was warning people back then. This was June of 2015. Trying to warn them then, don't listen to these crazy people on YouTube telling you it's radiation, because we'd have tons of fish, not just a bunch of crabs. It'd be loads of fish non-stop washing up if it was massive leaks of radiation running around in the ocean. So the truth is out now. Finally, they admitted the blob that cooked the Pacific. The blob is the name given to the warm water mass that was first detected, like I said, in 2013, lasting more than 3 years here, and yes, rose 7 degrees Fahrenheit higher, more than average. So yeah, the news is getting out here again. This was This is from August the 2nd, 2017. And they're talking about, yeah, it's confirmed now, the sea lion mass deaths, it wasn't because of radiation washing up along the shoreline, because that's what they were telling everyone. I'm like, come on, folks, think about it. If there was radiation that high, we'd have all kinds, not just certain little groups here and there. They'd all be dying, and the majority of them be washing up dead. There'd be so much dead fish and crabs and you name it, it'd be washing up non-stop. However, if you were listening to my shows back then, I was pointing out it's odd, but the animals, or I should say the fish and whatnot, they were affected by the hot, warm water, and a lot of them were dying. However, there are also fish that were normally not seen up here that were also showing up. So unfortunately, those that were dying, the fish that died, and the fish or the animals that were about to live off them, they were also affected, and that's what happened here. We had tens of thousands of these common murres here that washed up here on the North Pacific in May of 2017. So they figured it has to do with the unusually warm ocean temperatures that affected the tiny fish they eat. So it goes on to say here that the common mirrors eat small foraged fish, capelin from the small smelt family, and juvenile pollock, which as adults are caught for fast food fish sandwiches. Both fish were largely absent when the National Marine Fisheries Service conducted surveys in 2015. And common mirrors paid the price. Volunteers and federal researchers last year counted the carcasses of 46,000 dead mirrors in Alaska and another 6,000 California, Oregon, and Washington. Die-offs of seabirds occur periodically, but this one was spectacular. Only a fraction of the dead birds likely reached shore, Piat said, and only a fraction of Alaska coastline was surveyed. Conservative extrapolations should say, indicates 500,000 or more common mirrors died. So this was a pretty big event here, and it affected various regions along the west coast. So, yes, is there a problem with Fukushima radiation leaking in the Pacific Ocean? Absolutely. Is it as bad as it was a while back? No, but it is still a problem, no doubt about it. Have they fixed Fukushima? No, they haven't. They have admitted back in 2011, TEPCO said that it would take roughly 45 years before they could contain it because there's robotics that are needed to perform the tasks that have not yet been invented. And oddly enough, isn't that one of the new competitions at the 2020 Olympics in Japan is the robotics, and I believe that it potentially may have something to do with it. They have a big problem here, and if they can bring a bunch of people to work on a problem by creating a new competition in the Olympics, yeah. Long story short, the radiation off the coast of off the coast of Japan, because that's where the leak is taking place, is no doubt much higher than the Fukushima radiation that you would find all the way over here on our coastline. There's no doubt about that. At the source, that's where it's much stronger, less diluted, hasn't had an opportunity to mix in with all that different ocean water that's flowing around it. Long story short, though, we have not yet heard of any of these fish dying off or any of these sea lions or common mirrors dying over in Japan. In fact, the fishermen are dying to get back in there and start fishing again because there's so many fish, and that's their livelihood. Long story short, we found fish results coming off the coast of Japan where it showed that some of the fish, specific species, had elevated levels of radiation. They had not died. One fish alone was over 5,500 times above the legal limit, still alive. Exactly the same scenario that we see over in Chernobyl. Years later, decades later, there are still lots of wildlife, fish swimming in the spent fuel pool ponds. That's right. Wildlife, deer all over the place. They found a mouse the other day, that was several years back, but the radiation in that mouse was unbelievable, yet it was not dead. It was living and thriving. So, yes, radiation is definitely a problem, and I do know from following this topic very closely that the last independent test we had was a fishery from Washington, the state of Washington. It was in Seattle. I can't remember the name right now. You'd have to go digging through my Connecting Dots to YouTube channel, but I believe it was in January of 2014 or 2015 where he had traveled up to Alaska, bought 7 different species of salmon. Only 7 fish. All 7 fish were all 7 different species. Out of the 7 fish, 5 of them tested positive for radiation. Out of those 5, 2 of them tested positive for Fukushima radiation. The other 3 was from post-nuclear testing in the Pacific Ocean that took place during the 1950s and 60s. So yeah, even that radiation is still lingering around to this day. Long story short, we do have a problem, and let's get into that right now. So yes, even back in 2015, fake news CNN, at least they were talking about the blob changing the Pacific Ocean. And folks, those of you that watch my videos here, Connecting Dots 2, you may recall earlier in the spring, During one of my Fukushima videos, I mentioned how I was in the process of building a website. I was going to start a river rafting company, river tubing company, I should say, not rafting, river tubing company here in Lake Cowichan on Vancouver Island, BC. That's at the top of the map here. That's where I live, that little rock here out in the middle of the ocean. Anyways, long story short, I decided not to at one point because I found out that as I was following the blob here, doing my update on this whole thing, I'd found that the blob had actually reversed. It was no longer warming up the ocean by 5 to 7 degrees. It was actually cooling it down by 3 to 4 degrees. And if you recall, I said, AccuWeather, which was the only one, oddly enough, that got their prediction, their weather prediction on the West Coast, 100% correct. Even today, August the 6th, I get up this morning, go out to grab my morning coffee. It was so cold out, I could not believe it. I'm like, wow, I can't believe it. August 6th, I'm outside in a t-shirt, and I have my pants on, not my shorts, and I'm still cold. Well, it was cold. It's been cold the entire summer. In fact, our summer just basically started here about a week ago. As we were falling into August, it finally warmed up a little bit. The blob is still cool to this day. As you can see, that was from July 29th down below here, and things have not warmed up. Here we are, August the 5th, 2017. Here's where I live here on Vancouver Island. Down below this line is all of the USA. Everything up above is obviously Canada. So yes, Baja California. You can see the ocean is pretty much normal here. There's the temperatures down below if you want to take a look at them. Hit the space bar. But the blob, which was located up here, that it was actually warm, has now flipped over and it's cold. And the AccuWeather nailed it when they said everyone along the west coast here, upper northern Pacific west coast, would have a cooler summer than usual. It has been cool. Very cool. Very cool. All right, so here's the big update. Will this guy follow through? I don't know, but it stirred me enough. I figured, you know what, I'm going to make a video about this because it seems like he's new to Fukushima, and I always try to warn everyone who's new to Fukushima that this is what's been going on, and let them choose the opportunity to pick what side they want to be on. And I mean by sides, by either the fear-mongering factless gang, yeah, or us straight shooters that, we're all about honesty and truth. So I'm not giving a shout out to this guy yet. I'm just letting you know that he came over and mentioned something in a comment regarding gold and silver over at my Silver Gold Man YouTube channel in a comment on somebody else's channel where I'm calling out these frauds. Yeah, that's what I do. Can you imagine that? Over in gold, and it's full of it in the gold and silver economy on YouTube. Anyways, without digressing any further, this guy came over and left a comment, kind of stood up for me, didn't know who he was, and I figured I'd come check it out, and then I happened to come across Thomas Ackerman. And I'm like, oh, the bullshit artist. Well, he calls himself a real artist, but we all know how he draws those pictures with that projection camera that we busted him on in the past. But anyways, what's important is that, so I laid it into Hank, and I said, listen, Hank, this is what's going on here. And I told him, go approve the message. And it looks like he did approve the message because I logged in with my, imagine YouTube took down my Connecting Dots 1 YouTube channel. You guys may remember that back in May of 2012. And here we are years later. I was able to, I went and test one day to see if I could get my Connecting Dots 1 back, and I did. As you can see, there's only, 4 subscribers. Anyways, it's because I don't do anything there. What's important is I came out here to let this guy know of Thomas Ackerman, Dana Durnford, Miss Milky the Clown, Kevin Blanch, and there's many others. Obviously, I couldn't start naming them all, but these are the three amigos. The three amigos that scam many people on YouTube, but more specifically the late Jeff Palko, the largest by, this is no stretch of the imagination. I'm not making this crap up. He gave more money, I should say he didn't give it. It was actually just temporary loans because he did not have the money to give out. That was the best of it. And anyone who knows this whole story, you know where I'm going here. I got the proof here at the end. Okay, folks, hang tight. I was the only one who was contacted by his family, so I've got checks and everything. Anyone who's doubting this story, watch out. Thomas Ackerman. Oh yeah, boom, boom. How do you like me now, Thomas? Oh, he hates me. Yes. So long story short, I've let Hank know what's going on. Sent them the links, and I'll get there also for anyone who's new here, so you can get informed also, because this is important. The late Jeff Palko did not have the funds to give to this guy, to any of these people, and I'm speaking Dana Durnford nor Kevin Blanch. And the only reason why he gave the $2,000 to Thomas Ackerman is because back then he'd been scammed. Sorry, he didn't know he was being scammed, but Jeff was under the belief that the Pacific Ocean was 95% dead in August of 2014, and the three amigos, which was Dana Durnford, Miss Milky the Clown, Kevin Blanch, and Thomas Ackerman, I should say is actually four, I guess, but long story short, they were responsible, and Thomas was one of the one helping promote the bullshit. The lies. It's all dead. 95% dead. And I was telling people, oh yeah, 95% dead. Go down to your local restaurant right now. Go to your local restaurant, seafood restaurant. How about that? Go down to your fisheries. Go ask them, has the price of seafood doubled here? If not tripled? If not skyrocketed? Because my friends are telling me that the Pacific Ocean is 95% dead. Well, we're 2017, and look at the price of seafood has not gone ballistic by any means at all. Long story short, this guy has an opportunity here to put an end to the fairy tale bullshitters, the tail spinners, okay? This is important. I'll share the links with you guys, but I just want to let you know that this guy has come out. Hank has come out. And he says, what would you think about my personal reimbursement to Mary Palko? I'm like, oh yeah? I'm going to set that up. I'll set it up for you. You and her, you can discuss it with her. And she can prove she's Thomas Ackerman's mother. Thomas Ackerman's. She's the late Jeff Palko's mother. Okay, guy? No problem. So, Thomas Ackerman, this is one of the bullshit artists that the late Jeff Palko warned us about. And I'll get into that video because anyone who's new to Fukushima, you need to hear this warning. And pay attention to the people that are promoted. These are all lying fraudsters. It's all part of the corruption on YouTube. They all work together. They all lie and fake at one point or another. Same with Andrew. He's part of that corruption. Okay, guys? Very important you pay attention. And these are, like I said, it's a concerted effort non-stop here to scam you. So I was the only one who's been in contact with Mary Palko, which is Jeff Palko's mother. And you may recall at one point I shared part of the email that I was receiving, that I received a couple from her, but I shared one specific email, how she was just devastated, how all of this fraud that took place on YouTube, how it was responsible for her son having taken his life. She doesn't say that, but she just says responsible for the end of his life. Well, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to put two and two together. The guy lost his entire life savings, okay? His entire life savings because he was on disability. He had injured himself at work 8 years prior. He was taking everyday painkillers, which is one of the things she said in there. Devastating that these people would actually take advantage of my son when he's on these painkillers, and they lied to him, totally took advantage of him. See how she says these thieves caused him harm? Plural, like I said. It's the scam that Jeff himself was warning everyone about. So, and I mean everyone who's coming new to YouTube regarding Fukushima. He's hoping you guys would listen to the video. So I'm going to share it with you, anyone who's new. My regular viewers have all seen this, but this is important because if we're going to have some truth out here, we're going to need you guys to get informed and to spread the news. So I'm also going to share a video here. This is the first time when Jeff had actually found out, I believe was from his son, that they were lying to him about the condition of the Pacific Ocean, and he lost it. And I don't blame him. He realized that his friends on YouTube, who ended up banning him all after he lent them this money to go on these expeditions for life, and flew, like I said, Thomas Ackerman out to visit him in Calgary from Ontario. Yeah. And Thomas Ackerman's bragging how he's selling these $60,000 pictures. Absolute bullshit. He lost it. Absolutely lost it when he found out they lied to him about the condition of the ocean. He made this video. You can see he's very angry in his voice, but he even calls out Thomas Ackerman. His name's there with his address and everything. I'll share that with you folks. But like I said, anyone who's doubting this stuff, you come on over here to Connecting Dots 1, okay? Because this is where you're going to get informed. I've been making this threads been around here for a while, and see, connectingdots1.com. It's Fukushima Jeff betrayed by Kevin Blanch and Dana Durnford. So these are the checks that the family members, his older brother had sent me. Kevin Palko had sent me these checks when his brother had the meltdown initially in 2014. He says, I've gone through my brother's stuff. I can't believe what these guys have done. Here, Connecting Dots, here's the information. There is a receipt from the bank that shows my brother took a lien out on his home for $16,576. Like I said, he had no more money. He was on he had insurance from having injured himself at work. He had a disability check coming in. Very sad. So yeah, the Royal Bank, like I said, I'm not full of shit. That's why I'm in contact with Mary Palko, and she wants to speak to Kevin Blanch, Dana Durnford, and that's who this $16,000 loan was taken out. Dana Durnford bought a boat. He told everyone he was he was about to go out on the Pacific Ocean and do some testing of the marine life to prove that there was radiation and all these the death of all the fish on his shoreline. There was no death on his shoreline back in 2014. I went right up to his shoreline, and I've gone again there just last year. Long story short, Mary wants to speak to these clowns. So I'm going to set it up. We'll see if this guy's willing to back it up. I'm sure by now he's, I said $50,000. I'm not sure if you guys saw that, but that's what I said here. They scammed him for over $50,000. So I'm not sure if this guy is going to reimburse Mary, but I'll most definitely keep you guys updated, and I will make more videos on this, and we'll find out if this guy's full of poo-poo, or is he going to live up to his word and actually reimburse her. Stay tuned. Okay, folks, so what I'm going to do is I'll leave the links down below in the Show More tab. You can hear Kevin Blanch. He came out with this video here trying to defend himself. This was originally when Jeff Palko had came back from the hospital after having this meltdown. He, had to remain calm and was hoping to get his funds back, but in the end, he got screwed over. They took him for all his money. So please go watch the videos. The links are down below, exactly as they show up here, okay?